medication alone is not to be relied on. In one half of the cases, medicine is not needed or is worse than useless. Obedience to spiritual and physical laws, hygiene of the body and hygiene of the spirit is the surest warrant for health and happiness. Spoken by Harriet K. Hunt, MD, who happens to be one of America's first female physicians. I just want to say here, folks, that what we do is we are not seeking, we're not an alternative to medicine. We will always need doctors in this country and around the world. I come from a third world country where I can say this confidently that over 80% of people who have survived past the age of 5 years, excuse me, not 50, but 5 years of age, have done so because of the intervention of conventional medicine. And so we are not in any chance, but in any way, speaking against the whole medical profession. What we want to do is we want to help you understand where the medical doctor comes in, where medication comes in, and where you come in, what you need to do, what you need to know about health. And that is what our presenter today is going to help talk to us about. Some of the risks involved in some of the medications and what you can do. And it's all about knowledge. It's all about what you need to know and what you need to do. And that's what Gil Cates was speaking about last week. So without much further ado, our presenter today has asked me not to go into any long introduction. But I will say this. This is a man who is multi-talented. He's a pilot, he's an inventor, he's a physicist, he's a natural medicine professional. I mean, he has seen it all, done it all, and we are so grateful. As a matter of fact, I'm right here in his house right now as we speak doing this presentation. So I'm honored and really grateful to have him on to talk to us about cholesterol, hormones, hot flashes, and more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to you, Dr. Kulisz. And again, thank you so much for being on our webinar and agreeing to do this for us tonight.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. I'm Dr. Kulisz speaking from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are, okay, looks like we have some echo here. Okay, hopefully it's going to be better right now. You seem to be out of luck today because you have two people that are actually having foreign accent, and for those that speak fluent English, this may be kind of an exercise in listening. Nevertheless, I hope that it's going to be worth it, and hopefully it is going to be interesting, and you will find it that hopefully you are getting to see some different points of view on things that don't always seem the way they are presented. So here it is, cholesterol, hormones, hot flashes, and more. It's a big subject, and kind of a subject that has been solidified since 1953, and actually accepted a single view that kind of like a cradle of civilization. There is only one way to view cholesterol. Mostly this is bad view. Cholesterol is bad, and effectively we don't question it. But here is my take, and here's the take of very many physicians that really don't talk much about it. But so let me do it. Let's talk cholesterol. You've noticed here that there is a statement here at the bottom of the screen: the great tragedy of science is the slaying of a beautiful hypothesis by an ugly fact. Well said. It was done between 1925 and 1985 by Thomas Huxley, a great researcher, great scientist, and actually still holds true. Let me tell you, when it comes to cholesterol, everything started in 1953. Dr. Ansel Keys, director of the Laboratory of Physiological Hygiene, University of Minnesota, published a paper that started this whole cholesterol motion. And in his paper, he actually pointed to a very interesting thing, that when people get sick, the cholesterol goes up. So he assumed that when cholesterol goes up, people get sick. Well, and primarily he said that this form of sickness will take on coronary heart disease or some similar circulatory problem. And he also made a statement that 5 times more Americans die of heart attacks than Italians. Well, and here is the printout from his publication. He basically stated that this is the correlation, and you see the Japan, Italy, England, Australia, Canada, and the U.S. The more fat people eat, the more likely they are to die of coronary heart disease. Well, let me put it this way. If Enron only knew how to cook books, here is how it really looked like. He just picked up items or points that actually were according to his hypotheses, leaving everything else completely untouched. So you are going to see, for example, that number 19 here is Sweden. Swedes eat as much of fat as Americans do, but only half of them die of coronary heart disease. The same applies, say, to Denmark, or 17 is Norway. So there must be something in it that distinguishes why is it that people in the United States that eat so much fat twice as often die of coronary heart disease while others don't. So once again, he just picked up things that seem to follow his hypotheses. So things happened immediately afterwards. American Medical Association made a statement that cholesterol is bad. American government issued treatment guidelines, keep cholesterol low. And low cholesterol culture started, and this started whole lifestyle and whole industry for that matter. So presently, the business of cholesterol in the United States alone is about $22 billion a year. And this has been extracted from Catherine Meggett's article at pharmatechnologist.com. And then the business of cholesterol treatment, of side effects of cholesterol-lowering drugs, is another about $20 billion a year. Folks, cholesterol in the United States, with all the adjacent areas, is a bigger business than a lot of countries have gross domestic product. Reality, despite that the United States is the 37th or about in the health of its citizens, we lived healthier lives before cholesterol and before synthetic medications. I mean, before cholesterol medications and other synthetic medications were used to treat chronic conditions. It is a very, very important thing. And then now we are 20th in longest living population. We lived longer before cholesterol was bad.
Who's number one?
I don't know. I think there is somebody in the probably somebody in Caucasus or some Georgia, maybe Armenia, somewhere in that area. Okay. And then there is another thing that those of you that are interested in this type of information, there is a high number needed to treat required to actually have benefits of cholesterol-lowering drugs. What is the number needed to treat? Number needed to treat is an index that indicates how many people have to take a medication for a year for one person to have a benefit. So Dr. Norton Hadler, that is a very, very prominent physician here in the United States, and you may actually Google him, said, I would have to treat 100 or more people with Crestor for a year to spare one of them a cardiovascular event. Just mind you, read the text, cardiovascular event. It doesn't necessarily mean heart attack, that they would not have otherwise had. I would have to treat several hundred for a year to spare one heart attack, and perhaps hundreds more to spare one stroke. I'm unwilling to even suggest a life-saving benefit. That's basically what it is.
Well, isn't that kind of harsh? Because I know some people have gotten some tremendous benefit from well, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, here's the situation that we really don't do cholesterol. We don't lower cholesterol. I'm kind of drifting away from the original slide, but I'm just answering Dr. David's statement here, question. We really don't treat cholesterol. We modify liver's ability to release low-density and high-density lipoproteins. And those are lipoproteins, those are not cholesterol. But we'll get to it later.
Okay.
A survey of clinical trials revealed that when a drug company funds a study, there is a 90% chance the drug will be perceived as effective. Whereas if a non-drug company funded study, it will be favorably only in 50% of the time. And then there's even worse situation where a lot of people in the government that actually oversee clinical studies usually have very substantial ties, financial ties to pharmaceutical companies. And this may or may not be actually released. In the United States now, there is a law, like in many countries for that matter, in the European Union, there is a law that requires clinical investigators to disclose their ties to pharmaceutical companies. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So let's talk about egg test. Egg test is a very, very important test on importance of cholesterol. Many of you probably know that maybe even many of you have been told that you shouldn't eat eggs because eggs contain a lot of cholesterol. Mm-hmm. Well, if cholesterol was bad, if cholesterol was detrimental to life, then there would be not a single chick ever born from it. Mm. What happens is that cholesterol is an essential element of living physiology. No cholesterol, no life. So let me continue this, and hopefully I will be able to show you this other side, and hopefully you will be able to look at cholesterol as an element that is mostly beneficial, rarely destructive. So if this is the case, who benefits, cui bono, who benefits of a situation pronouncing cholesterol substantially bad? Well, pharmaceutical and food industry. Those are very large industries that cannot function without something to provide benefits. And cholesterol is such a good thing because it's old and well established and has been quote unquote scientifically proven. Once again, statins market $22 billion a year. Statins create a side effect that requires another about $20 billion a year in the United States alone, so it comes to about $44–45 billion. This is supported by the government. And then statins are the beginning of the health problems. The more scared the people are, the more we err. Here are some ads that are published about cholesterol. Living with high cholesterol, you never know what's around the corner. Here is another one that I particularly despise. Which would you rather have, a cholesterol test or a final exam? This is outright criminal by my standards. I have very high regard for physicians, for physicians in the United States. Actually, I'm one of them in Europe. But this ad is really completely misleading, outright scaring, and it's despicable.
Sounds like fear-mongering there.
Yeah, it is definitely fear-mongering, and we are going to get to it. So if you are scared enough and buy into using statins, and as a side effect develop, say, erectile dysfunction, pharmaceutical industry is just ready for you. So what happens is that no matter what the side effect is, there is always something that pharmaceutical industry can do to help you overcome it. Statins are known to stimulate cancers in rodents. Low cholesterol does cause depression, aggressive and suicidal behaviors. And polyunsaturated fatty acids stimulate infections, and cancer in rats accelerate aging. When we are talking about stimulation of infections, it's not necessarily, it's probably not a good word. They literally inflict themselves on the immunity where infections are much easier to settle in the organism. And there is important thing at the end that people with low blood cholesterol have usually as much plaque in their blood vessels as those that have high cholesterol. Once again, people with low blood cholesterol have usually as much plaque in the blood vessels as those that have high cholesterol. Now, there's a very interesting thing that there were studies done in Europe, quite a bit as a matter of fact, and there were Swedish studies where that women with high cholesterol lived longer than those with low cholesterol. Many of these facts have been presented for decades in journals and books, but never transmitted to the public. Cholesterol campaign means immense wealth to researchers, doctors, pharma, and food industry. This is a business, folks. It has nothing to do with the health. It is just a business. Now, how the business works, if people get scared well enough and scared for a longer time, that they eventually are going to submit to some form of control. And some time ago, there was a scientist, actually a few of them in Australia, and they got really fed up with fear-mongering, and they established a new health problem called motivational deficiency disorder. And the study was underestimated, undiagnosed, and undertreated. Motivational deficiency disorder.
What does that mean?
Okay, well, the story was that they eventually created a lot of motion around it. They ran some clinical studies. They did some things that scientists and doctors do. And eventually, British Medical Journal bought into it and made it official disease, while in fact it was just a hoax. So this indicates how easy it is to create new malady. I call your attention to the very last paragraph, that a study of the economic impact of motivational deficiency disorder estimates the condition may be costing the Australian economy 2.4 billion Australian dollars a year in lost productivity. Well, that's how new maladies are made. So this way, new drugs can be produced. So
you're saying they took this seriously?
yeah, they took it was a hoax, and you see the British Medical Journal, volume 332, April 1st, 2006.
Oh, you're kidding.
Well, that's basically how it is. And this whole thing starts with extreme laziness, may have a medical basis, says a group of high-profile Australian scientists. Those were the scientists that created the hoax. I mean, they were just to prove that health, that this is not a matter of health or malady. This is a matter of creating one more diagnostic-related group or diagnostic-related unit that can be built and drugs can be produced.
And is the drug Strivo that they're proposing?
That is correct. They created super drug that I call your attention to one more thing, that the drug was called Indobelan, and is a cannabinoid, CB1. So welcome to the grass country, folks.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let's continue then. Disease mongering is a major part of drug marketing. Misrepresentation of conditions and calling it a disease equals profits. Now, you are probably very well aware with PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Now it is called premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's a completely new diagnostic unit. Weak regulatory standards basically add to the problem, because it's very difficult to really create a law or set of laws that would actually define what is new health problem, what is not. So many of the governments turn a blind eye on it. So could cholesterol be used as a bogeyman? And here's the link, and hopefully we'll be able to play it. I'm not quite sure if we will. No, I don't think that we will. But anyway, I refer you to the website myfoodforhealth.com, and there is a link at the top of the page that says that talks about how new maladies are created. So what's cholesterol? Well, cholesterol is an alcohol. Belongs to the group of sterols. Cholesterol, alcohol, methanol, ethanol, sterol, those are alcohols. Cholesterol is essential in the production of pregnenolone, which is the primary steroid of which other steroids are extracted or produced, estrogens, progesterone, testosterone, etc. Cholesterol is essential in the production and maintenance of cells. It is actually responsible for integrity of our cellular structure. It is responsible for it to the point that if people get very, very low cholesterol, they are getting very prone to strokes, TIAs, and other similar problems. And cholesterol is an essential element of immunity. So let's say it again. Cholesterol is needed to produce steroids. Cholesterol is needed for maintenance of cells. It's a part of the cell membranes. And cholesterol is essential for immunity. It is really a life-sustaining of the human chemical makeup, life-sustaining constituent. No cholesterol, no life. Well, I don't know how many of you are getting kind of confused right here, but it definitely can be. So what's LDL and HDL? LDL is a low-density lipoprotein. HDL is high-density lipoproteins. Those are lipoproteins or proteins. Those are fats. LDL and HDL are cholesterol carriers. And physiologically, they are just needed simply because without them, cholesterol wouldn't be able to travel from liver through the bloodstream to destinations. And the LDL brings cholesterol from liver to cells or to whatever destination cholesterol is needed. And HDL takes unprocessed cholesterol from cells, or actually unmetabolized from cells back to liver. To determine cholesterol, medical tests test for LDL and HDL. There is not a direct test of cholesterol available. So we really test for the presence of low-density lipoproteins and high-density lipoproteins to determine indirectly how high the level of cholesterol in bloodstream is.
Now, we are usually told that HDL is good, LDL is bad. Is it as simple as that, or?
Well, it's not, because you see, if you are going to cut LDL all the way down, if you are going to limit LDL, then the cholesterol is not delivered to where it needs to be to provide those beneficial elements. You see, cholesterol is really an alcohol. It's not a fat. It's not anything that can even oxidize in a manner like lipids would. So the whole concept of it is completely different. In 1994, Lancet published the information on analysis of the plaque, and this is something that's very important. Investigators found it contained more than 10 different substances, none of which was a saturated fat. Cholesterol is so good, what clogs the arteries then? And yet Lancet 1994 produced information that none of the substances were fats or saturated fats in plaques. Generally, plaque is a health mechanism that repairs aging vessels. It is kind of like a patch when crack or injury occurs to an arterial wall. Now, when we get too much of it, obviously there is a physiology that is not working very well, and all those elements that should stop proliferation of plaque should be active. Unfortunately, because physiology is really very deficient, particularly at a later age, and particularly at the environment that is pretty synthetic, and it's a lot of toxins. then this may not work well. But let me continue with this. Hopefully a lot of other things are going to become better known. So good fat, bad fat. Saturated fat. Those of you that are that just finished studies, finished university, probably recognize this left part of the equation is a double carbon bond of lipids. And then this is a cis. Left side of the equation is a cis configuration of fats. This is olive oil, say. Then when we are going to put it in the atmosphere of hydrogen under high pressure and high temperature and keep it for a while, the cis configuration, where is my, oh here it is. The cis configuration is going to switch to trans configuration, and this is double carbon bond of trans fats. This is a key that doesn't fit our physiological, metabolic or physiological law. We just cannot metabolize it. And then as we continue, then we are going to come to saturated fat that looks much like organic saturated fat, say butter or pig lard. But the point is that, and even though it looks the same way on a piece of paper, its tridimensional model is completely different. So it is not metabolizable, and it's just not, it basically cannot be used by our organism, unlike butter or some other solid fats traditionally used in various cultures. It's readily metabolizable and provides great benefits. And we'll talk about it in a moment. So unsaturated fats, oils, flaxseed oil, traditionally used since the beginning. And there are some other fats that are appearing here in the United States and Northern Europe. Those are kind of new fats that have not been traditionally used there, like flaxseed oil or fats from plants like nut seeds, avocados, for example, or coconuts. Nobody in Central Europe or Northern Europe ever seen it before. It works. When it comes to synthetic fats, I just don't do it. Canola is not an edible oil, by my standards at least.
Is that rapeseed oil?
Rapeseed oil, right.
Really?
Rapeseed oil is a canola oil.
Okay.
Then it is, let me put it this way. Rapeseed oil by itself is not bad, and it's used in Central Europe, for example, or Northern Europe. But it's processed much like olive oil.
Okay.
When it comes to rapeseed oil here in the United States, particularly this Canadian part, because there is a very large acreage in Canada under rapeseed, so it's processed under very high temperatures and very high pressures, and it really creates some major changes to its molecular structure. And this is here as I believe canola oil. Okay, let's talk about liver for a moment. 80% of cholesterol is produced by liver from dietary animal fat. That's what it is. Liver produces only as much as it is needed. Food and other sources, probably about 20%. It is absorbed directly from gastrointestinal tract to the blood. And then genetic predisposition to high cholesterol may be observed in some individuals. I have it in my family, as a matter of fact. My father, when he was 93, several years ago, he died since then, but when he was 93, his cholesterol was about 330 to 350.
Wow.
And yet he worked until 2 days before he died, and his circulatory system was clean as a whistle. And he was riding horses until about 2 years before he died. So the high cholesterol is not necessarily a culprit, has never been for that matter. So let's continue then. The rule is, and those of you that speak German, for example, or French, I would refer you to the local medical libraries where you are going to see very interesting a lot of interesting publications that will show you that there is a substantial correlation between depressed cholesterol and poor health. the more depressed the cholesterol is, the poorer the health. And I presume that many of you may even actually see or remember or know somebody that started getting cholesterol-lowering drugs and all of a sudden came up with joint pains, some arthritic pains, muscle pains, inflammatory conditions, and the like. Nursing home residents usually have quite a bit of myocardial infarctions and strokes and temporary ischemic accidents once they start getting on cholesterol-lowering drugs. And you are going to see a lot of them with such conditions like neuropathy, rheumatoid arthritis. Those people usually have very depressed cholesterol. And this statement is independent of the age of residence. You don't have to be 100 to be with this. You can be 35 or 30. In general population, depressed cholesterol means tiredness, physical and mental fatigue, inability to rest or rejuvenate. It is absence of libido, erectile dysfunction, depressed mental faculties, frequent sicknesses, and inflammations. Inflammations probably is one of the most important elements, simply because it manifests itself usually in pain or substantial pain and limited mobility. This is really quite a bit of a problem. Now, let's talk about fats for a moment, because the cholesterol is usually associated with fats, and we have been told that we must not eat fats. We are on low-fat diet, and America actually is #1 country on low-fat diet, and we still have the largest derrieres in the world. So how is it that we are trying to be obedient and we try to have those low-fat diets, and yet we have the largest bodies in the world? The primary source of fats to human over the time of humanity on Earth were animal fats. That's basically how we got our fat. When it comes to the role of fats, it's the primary nutrient for heart and liver. This is goes right from the bloodstream to those two organs. It's a precursor of cholesterol. It's very important. We already covered it. And it's a carrier of fat-soluble nutrients and vitamins. Folks, nothing can replace fat as a carrier of nutrients and vitamins. It simply is not going to happen. And I call your attention to a very interesting fact, that Eskimo that functioned for thousands of years in cold climates, very hostile climates, did quite well, and they have never seen a green leaf of lettuce. All the food that they ate was always based on fat. Now, fats are fully bioavailable and metabolizable. Oops, we have some problems here with the grammar. I apologize. And excellent sources of energy. There is a very interesting thing that there is a new trend that actually I support and I participate in it, preparing athletes or long distance runners for those big long distance runs. And when we do it, then we usually put people on high-fat diet for about 2 weeks before run, and they run just greatly without need to catch the so-called second wind, that they lose energy some 5-6 kilometers down the road and then get the second wind. No, with high-fat diet, it doesn't happen that way. And once again, because of the presence of fats and cholesterol, we get some health protections from it. So let's review. The cholesterol is essential in the production of pregnenolone, maintenance of cells, essential element of immunity, life-sustaining constituent. No cholesterol, no life. Let's go to hormones then. Same marketing rules apply, promoting fear and anxiety about future ill health if hormones are not delivered, new diseases, inflated prevalence, and magic pill availability. And here is again our ads. It's a beautiful woman that looks kind of sad, and see how invisible osteoporosis can be. And the same is here. Is it PMS or is it PMDD? Hormones are highly complex biological substances. They are produced by endocrine glands, and they control and regulate physiological processes. Folks, there are thousands of hormones in every one of us. All of them are retaining very dynamic, fulfilling each other's relationship. Manipulating 2-3 hormones is always creating some form of disorder. We can produce hormones that we need to have by merely having proper nutrition that can be used, that can be broken down to nutrients that we need, that our organism needs, and can produce hormones that are needed. Hormones are highly potent. They are the amounts of hormones in analysis are shown as in nanograms or picograms, and it's necessary to sustain life. Once again, they are highly coordinated, and when disturbed, may create dire consequences. For example, estrogen created avalanche of breast cancers. And I don't know how many of you remember that, but there was some time ago when about 25,000 nurses in New England, here in the United States, were undergoing several-year-long studies on providing, supplementing estrogen. They had much higher population of breast cancer than any other population, and effectively the cancer, the test, actually clinical studies were canceled. This is the graph of female menstrual cycle, and this is, I just put it here in this presentation to show how those hormones coordinate, how those hormones work with each other. It's luteinizing hormone, follicle-stimulating hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and then there's a follicular phase and luteal phase. And I would like to show you that this is just 4 hormones out of thousands. So it is important to see it for what it really is. I don't think that we are in a position to impose ourselves upon the hormonal structure of a person simply because we just don't have enough of abilities or say magic magnifying glass to look into somebody's metabolism or physiology and determine what's really needed. And because of this, so many people here in the United States, and I've seen it also in Europe, are estrogen dominant. It's a massive estrogen dominance in a lot of people for various reasons, for that matter. Nevertheless, this shows up. This is a partial list of hormones. I just put it here. This list is on myfoodforhealth.com. Hormones 2, HTF, there is many more, and by any means it's not a complete list. It's just an example. Primary function of steroid hormones is physical strength, resilience, vitality, virility, stress handling. Is very, very important. People that have low level of steroids handle stresses very poorly. Reproduction, energy, sugar level control. This is also a very important element that is very underestimated. Anti-aging and repairing and rejuvenation. This is super. And the support of cerebral mood and cognition and memory functions. That's also a very important element. So as you see, having proper makeup of steroid hormones, like proper makeup of all the hormones, it's extremely important. And I presume that every one of you saw a person, a man or a woman, in their late 70s or even 80s that were vibrant and vital, and they moved briskly, spoke with a strong voice, very decisive. This is the type of the person that I'm talking about when I say that those people have proper level of hormones. This very interesting thing here, I took it from another lecture that I have about conversion of cholesterol to steroid hormones. And you will see that cholesterol converts to pregnenolone, and then eventually through DHEA, goes all the way up to testosterone, and from testosterone it metabolizes down to estradiol, and then the other part is estrogen and estriol. This particular path in the upper right corner is when the physiology works well and everything works well in a person's life. When a person gets under heavy stresses and gets into the situation of survival for a longer time, then this pathway shuts down, and the pathway gets involved. The primary pathway is shown here with red arrows, where metabolism of cholesterol goes in the direction of cortisol. This is a hormone of survival. So it's very, very important to remember that we can either survive and have this pathway here, or we can thrive and have pathway that ends up with upper right corner. It's a very, very important thing. And this is what naturopathic doctors, those that deal with more natural ways of helping people get well, do so well, simply because involving any synthetic medications in this process is outright wrong, I believe. My practice is that providing people with natural substances, nutrients, herbs, things of that sort, and looking up into their life and helping them set up their life properly, that's much better. And once this pathway shows up again, you will not be able to tell you will be surprised how much those people can change.
So your focus is on shunting the pathway towards production of DHEA and the other beneficial hormones, right?
That is correct. The dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA, that leads all the way to testosterone, and then parallel with this to estrogen, estriol, and estradiol. Mind you, we are talking about 3 estrogens here.
Okay.
Actually, there are 42 of them.
Oh, really?
Okay, so this is just showing you how little how superficial is what we deal with in our medical offices. Nevertheless, the point is that we already know that if we can convert cholesterol towards testosterone and estrogens, we function, we build, we create. We have testosterone, the hormone of strength and endurance, and estrogens, the hormones of proliferation.
And this is for both men and women, right?
That is correct, right? For both men and women. That's correct. The ratio may be different, but it's for both men and women.
Okay.
Okay? So that's basically how it is. So we are very well equipped to be able to survive tough conditions. That's why we have the pathway to cortisol. Nevertheless, the point is that it should be a survival mode, not standard living mode like a lot of people live now.
So a lot of people have high levels of cortisol in their blood.
That is correct.
Because of the stress?
Because of stresses, poor nutrition, things of that sort. So that's basically how it really looks like.
Okay.
Let's go to another slide. Looks like the telephone is ringing here. Probably somebody is already calling. How did they get our telephone number, by the way? Complexity of the hormonal structure is too great to be treated with a single isolated component. I'm just kind of repeating it already because this has already been stated. And the treatments, such as providing a single hormone like estrogen, for example, lead to major problems. As a matter of fact, you probably have noticed that there are athletes, performance athletes that use testosterone to support their strength and endurance. They end up with gynecomastia. So eventually they develop a breast, women's like breast, and eventually they develop hot flashes if they stop using it. Okay, trust your body. Hormones are proteins. Amino acids are proteins building blocks. By providing amino acids in a diet, hormonal problems are resolved on their own. You just need to eat food that was food 100 years ago. That's all that really needs to be done. The important element is that one of the biggest upsetting elements, I should say, is providing synthetic medications that are very intrusive in our physiology. Now, please understand, I'm not against synthetic medications. I believe that synthetic medications have very important role in our lives, particularly in acute condition. If I'm going to get hit by a Mack truck somewhere or be in a traffic accident and be injured or wounded, then I definitely want to be taken to the emergency room and treated with whatever they need to treat me to keep me alive and well until I am ready to move into more chronic mode of recovery from the wound, from injury. But the chronic recovery, the recovery of this more chronic state is not in synthetics, it is in substances that are biocompatible, substances that we can metabolize, that we can actually benefit better. When we are looking at the ways to treat various things, the standard model promoted by pharmaceutical industry is to create a magic pill rule. So the pill takes over, removes the symptoms, but actually does not take care of the causes of the symptoms. So this generates repeat business. Well, if there are any side effects, it creates additional revenue. And financially rewarding, it's a very, very financially rewarding situation because every patient becomes a profit center. Now, there is a very important thing. I understand that I'm speaking to international group of listeners. Some of them are here from the States, some of you are from England, from Australia, and from some other countries. I think that I have 2 or 3 listeners from Poland. Dobry wieczór Państwu. What happens is that it's very important that in different countries, depending on the general wealth of the population, the cost of drugs is different. So, for example, you go to Mexico, you can buy the same medications as here in the United States for 1/5 of the price. So the whole concept of selling medications has nothing to do with providing people with rewards of better health. It has to do with the fact that market can bear higher prices. People are desperate to buy those things. People have money to buy them, so people do. And that's basically how this whole thing works. This whole economy, or this economic situation, this economic model works. Now, there is a very important thing, getting back to estrogen, that it's very important how estrogen is given to women, particularly postmenopausal women. That in very many medical offices prescribe estrogen without progestin or progesterone. Progestin is a synthetic progesterone. And I just call your attention to those few slides because they are kind of very important and they have proven to be valid. What happens is that doses of estrogen or general hormones are much higher than physiologically warranted, and estrogen is routinely applied after hysterectomy. Now, what happens is that standard of care requires to give progestin to women to protect them from endometrial cancer because unopposed estrogen is known to cause endometrial cancer. However, progestin is not given to women after hysterectomy due to too many side effects and the risk of coronary heart disease, strokes, joint and muscle pain. Do you see the point here? So it is given simply because it provides temporary relief, but actually is physiologically wrong and leads to estrogen dominance, progesterone deficiency that is manifested by weight gain, fatigue, anxiety, inflammations, gallbladder problem, risk of breast cancer, bleeding, fibrosis, endometriosis, hot flashes, and many others. And such symptom often cause hysterectomy. About 50% of hysterectomy is prophylactically with ovaries, And some of the symptoms may be reduced by hysterectomy. However, the underlying causes, hormonal dysregulation, persists. So what happens is that after surgery, women are put on unopposed estrogen, reinstating estrogen dominance that caused the surgery in the first place. Do you see the point here?
Well, what's the rationale for doing that?
That's the model. That's the whole concept. That this is, you see, the model is, I mentioned that we have many hormones, not 10, 20, or 30. We have this hormonal makeup of human bodies, of human organisms, awfully complex. And yet we are trying to take care of it using 1 or 2 or 3 hormones. And that leads to hormonal dysregulation. And this hormonal dysregulation, it starts with hypothalamus pituitary gland in our brain, and goes all the way down through thyroid, parathyroid, all the way down to adrenal cortex and other organs that produce hormones. So what happens is that further treatment consists of antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication, gallbladder removal, pain, migraine medication, etc. All this controls the symptoms. None makes up for lingering estrogen dominance and progesterone deficiency.
Well, you would have thought that they would figure this out and.
Well, that's how it is. This part, those of you that are very interested in this part, there is a doctor here in the United States, name is Janet Lang. She's probably the brightest endocrinologist that I have ever seen. I attended some of her lectures, as a matter of fact, with great interest, and we discussed a number of things as we have very similar views on it. And any one of you that requires some top-level consultation, you probably can Google her, Janet Lang, L-A-N-G. I think that she's from Missouri, and you would be able to get hold of her. And she's very, very accessible, as a matter of fact. Estrogen needs sufficient progesterone to benefit the system. Estrogen must not be given without progesterone. However, progesterone may be given without estrogen, and the reason being that estrogen is metabolite of progesterone. And hot flashes are usually a symptom of estrogen deficiency or unopposed estrogen. And I put here an explanation sign with the word explain, because the sentence really doesn't make much sense. So here's how it works. When we are becoming estrogen dominant, we have so much of estrogen floating in our blood that our cells, or actual estrogen receptors on our cells, are getting downregulated. So our cells are not flooded with estrogen anymore. So we have technically a lot of estrogen floating in our blood, but our cells are getting only a little bit of it, otherwise they would be just flooded over. So what happens is that this is a condition of unopposed estrogen. So if this happens, in some cases, patients may be showing symptoms of estrogen deficiency while there will be a lot of estrogen in their blood. Now, substitute word estrogen with word xenoestrogen, a chemical or chemical substances that look and feel like estrogens to estrogen receptors on cells. Those are not estrogens like our organism would produce them, but they definitely have similar effect. So in the presence of xenoestrogens, the estrogen receptors downregulate as well. So all this may show those symptoms of estrogen deficiencies, while in fact there may be plenty of estrogen substances in the bloodstream. And hot flashes can be one of those symptoms. No period for 6 months or longer. This is postmenopausal period. Hysterectomy in some women, chemotherapy, amputated ovaries. Have you noticed that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conditions, where 3 conditions out of 5 have been imposed artificially on a patient?
Right. Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, and no periods for 6 months or longer can be a reason that can be caused by chemotherapy. or some other situations. Actually, 4 out of 5 can be imposed upon a patient, where hot flashes is just a symptom of any of those 4. A patient like this is a perfect profit center for a pharmaceutical company.
Just having hot flashes.
Right.
There's so many things it can do. Okay.
In additional considerations, they consider progesterone versus estrogen. It's always better to start with progesterone versus estrogen. And individualized hormone replacement if needed. Lowest possible dose rule. Women are capable of producing sufficient hormones, I mean women and men actually, sufficient amount of hormones through their life with proper nutrition. It's a very, very important thing. And if somebody wants to do, there is a test, E-post-M, E-post-POST-M, to determine hormonal status, and try supplements first. There are some great, great supplements, extracts of plant and animal tissues that restore hormonal makeup pretty well. I mean, you probably have noticed also that I don't use the word hormone balance or hormone imbalance or something like it. Folks, when it comes to hormones, or actually when it comes to living process, there is nothing in balance. Everything is so dynamic and so working all the time that using word balance is just misrepresenting the status of physiology or metabolism. Those are very, very dynamic environments, and I would like to see, rather, instead of using word balance, I would rather use word makeup or perhaps dynamics. That would probably be the other word. Those that are interested in protocols to support pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and ovarian glands, which lead to proper secretion of hormones that we need, particularly at the later age, I would suggest detoxification, possibly chelations, can be IV of ascorbic acid and minerals or other vitamins as needed. That would be limited probably to 10, maybe 15 infusions. Simplex F, it's a great, great extract of animal tissues, restores hormonal makeup in women. Tribulus terrestris, desiccated adrenals, adrenamine, those are natural substances that can work absolutely terrifically, and after 2-3 weeks of using them, life really looks better and colors are brighter. There is also Zango, there is also, let me think, another juice that is called Nutrazone, I think, and there is another that is called mangosteen juice that are very good in helping limit inflammatory processes. Orchex is an extract also of animal tissues that prevents spots and promotes proper androgen makeup. Altogether, there are tons, literally tons of natural methods to help people go over hormonal problems. So how about men? Well, contrary to public belief, ladies and gentlemen, men do have hormones too. Male hormonal makeup is to protect, while female is to nourish. Primary hormones are androgens, and decline of androgens produces similar effects in men as menopause in women. Watch for inflammatory conditions. This is the first thing that happens in men as they are coming to the second part of their lives. So gradual onset of andropause is producing symptoms not considered in the context of hormonal status. So what happens is that if we are getting, say, inflammatory condition because we have very, very poor level of steroids, then instead of increasing level of steroids, or glucocorticoid steroids for that matter, we are getting COX-2 inhibitors. It's just not the way to go. There is also a very important thing that little change of serum testosterone is misleading due to the elevation of serum binding globulin, serum hormone binding globulin. So what happens is that we may have tons of testosterone in the bloodstream, but this testosterone is bound to hormone binding globulin and is not available to our metabolic processes or physiological processes. Testosterone deficiency symptoms are more common due to hormonal dysregulation rather than testosterone deficiency alone. And once again, we eat foods that are very processed. There is very little nutrients in them. There is a lot of stuff, chemical stuff that doesn't belong to our organism, and this creates very substantial hormonal dysregulation.
I also read somewhere, Dr. Kulisz, that when there's stress and there's a lot of cortisol, there's actually an inverse relationship between the amount of cortisol, circulating cortisol, and the amount of testosterone.
That is correct, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
absolutely.
The more stress, the less testosterone.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, the more stress, the more cortisol is going to be present.
Okay. Okay.
So then testosterone is made from cholesterol. Once we are getting back to our first slides, and then we need to keep healthy level of cholesterol and triglycerides. Statins upset this relationship, induce andropause. It is very, very important thing. To all the men, statins upset this relationship and induce andropause. I mean, among many other things.
So statins can prevent the conversion of testosterone to...
No, statins prevent secretion of cholesterol, or actually delivery of cholesterol, simply because they limit production of low-density and high-density lipoproteins, or particularly low-density lipoproteins. And if we don't get cholesterol, the building block number one, then we are not going to get pregnenolone, we are not going to get to testosterone pathway.
Got it.
So the symptoms of andropause, it's probably carbon copy of symptoms of menopause is depression, pessimism, irritability. We are grumpy old men, probably have seen the movie. Loss of energy, fatigue, loss of libido, erectile dysfunction, sleep problems, muscle pains and inflammations. This is very, very important. If you have a man in your family that is older in age, and older in age can be 45 or 50, it doesn't have to be 100, and has inflammations, the first thing to look at is how about hormonal makeup of this man. Then providing foods that are more towards secretion of steroids and some herbs that help release steroids, like say Tribulus terrestris. I mean the Bulgarian or Slovakian, because of the only two chemotypes that actually do it, we may provide excellent results. But further sleep problems, blood sugar problems, very, very important, weight gain. It's a whole bunch of stuff. So what happens is that this is very, very important, and you are going to see here increased cholesterol and triglycerides. You see, what happens is that if our health goes down, the natural loop, feedback loop, is increased cholesterol because it's a healing substance. So you are going to be able to see it. And if we have increased cholesterol and increased blood pressure, then you have a sure bet that something is happening about andropause. You know. And then, of course, prostate problems and osteoporosis and then some other things. It's very similar. So that's basically it. Male hormones protocol, that's similar to the female protocol, detoxification, IVs perhaps from ascorbic acid, about 10-15, upstream endocrine pathway, hypothalamus, Tribulus terrestris, Orchex, Zango or Nutrazone or mangosteen juices. Zinc liver chelate is very, very important. Trace minerals. Actually, trace minerals are very important in both men and women. And one of the reasons is that our foods are completely devoid of minerals. So this is something that to be looked at. And also B12 folic acid. This is very important too, because B12 and folic acid participate in the production of methylation, actually methylating processes that end up with production of red blood cells. So this is very important to be able to stay strong and healthy, to have enough of red blood cells to provide us with oxygenation and nutrients, and then remove all the metabolites that we need to remove. And the additional supplements, particularly in inflammatory conditions. Both genders, physical fitness, it's a very, very substantial. In most cases, it may be all you need. So, folks, hit the treadmill.
And the
And
weights.
the final thoughts, nutrition is an indispensable element of living. It's absolutely essential. We must provide nutrition to ourselves. We must stop eating, start providing nutrition. Nutrition must be compatible with our metabolism, must be natural and organic. We do not metabolize synthetic products such as trans fats. When using nutrition supplements, always select the whole food formulations. Exercise daily, maintain positive attitude, relax, be in a fulfilling relationship. It is very, very important to be a fulfilling relationship with your spouse, with God, with your friends, with everybody that you feel well about. So that would be it. I thank you very much. My name is Kulisz, Dr. Andrzej Kulisz of European Natural Health Centers. This has been sponsored by European Natural Health Centers. And if you have any questions, direct those questions to Dr. David or directly to us at European Natural Health Centers, enhcenter.com, enhcenter.com. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kulisz. This has been incredibly informative. I mean, we've been getting people type in, we love the information and we love your accent, so thanks a lot. Folks, if you're new here, just remember you can always type in questions. I mean, we're going to have another like 20 minutes, if Dr. Kulisz can stand it, of questions coming in. And you can always type questions into the box to the right of your screen. So while we'll wait a little bit for your questions to start coming in, but I want to make have a few comments and a few more questions of my own. Inflammation, he mentioned inflammation a lot. That's a key, really, in so many conditions, not just with hormonal imbalances, or, I mean, that's the wrong term.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, that's whatever it is, but hormonal dysregulation, okay, your profile is out of balance. Inflammation, yes, is one of the keys to all kinds of things, from heart disease to cancer to everything. So it's extremely important that you control your inflammation. And we've had Dr. Marvin come do a wonderful presentation on inflammation. You can get that from our website. Whatever you're doing, you have to have something in your nutritional profile or your supplemental profile that takes care of inflammation. Okay, not just antioxidants, but also you need to have something that takes care of inflammation as well. He mentions the mango steamed fruit and some of the herbs in the Nutrazone drink.
Well, I see I mentioned Nutrazone drink simply because it has specific herbs in it or combination that is very anti-inflammatory. What is in it is maca, which is actually a root, dragon's blood, and cat's claw. Dragon's blood and cat's claw are very highly anti-inflammatory herbs. And I just call your attention to the fact that cat's claw comes in two chemotypes, much like tribulus, so you have to be very much aware what you are getting. One cat's claw, one chemotype is beneficial, another one is quite a detrimental element, so be sure what you are getting. But that's why I use the trademark Nutrazone simply because I happen to do study about the contents of it, so that's why I'm talking about it. And I'm not even distributor of Nutrazone, and I have not been paid for it by Nutrazone, so it was for my own patients.
Yeah, you just recommended it because you've seen some good results from it.
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
okay.
Yes, like from some others too. Mm-hmm.
Well, great. Thank you for that. Now, he also mentioned detoxification, and he mentioned chelation. Now, not everybody obviously can get chelation because that takes some kind of expertise from a doctor or a naturopath or whatever. And if you can, well, good. But if you can't, our speaker who will be here on Thursday to speak about the pain medication, he also did a wonderful presentation on detoxification with the power of zeolites. That's with a Z, and that really has been proven to help safely and harmlessly remove toxins. We're talking heavy metals, we're talking chemical toxins, we're even talking about some kind of viruses. Have been effective in these situations to help them remove them from your body. Again, that's a resource on our website called The Science of Detoxification, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it again on Thursday because he's the one who actually brought it into the market. I'm glad, Dr. Kulisz, you mentioned something about exercise, that exercise plays a role in this whole process. It's amazing. If there's one thing that that affects everything from your nutritional status to your not balance now, but your hormonal profile. I mean, it seems like exercise affects everything from the way you think to your weight and all that.
It's terrific, and I don't think that you see, here's the thing, that from day one on earth we have been meant to do some work. That's why we have muscles. Mm-hmm. That's why we have good bone structure. We can lift things, move things. And if we are not using it, we are going to lose it. And in the process, we are going to lose those abilities and lose all the control elements that make those abilities possible. And the important thing for health, this is when the health disintegrates. Our bodies disintegrate, our health disintegrates. So the best way to actually stay healthy, stay well, is to exercise. Exercise, it may be all you need to be yourself again. Actually, it's our tagline.
Really?
Yeah, it may be all you need to be yourself again.
That's a great tagline. Okay, great. Here some questions have been piling in. So someone says one of the best presentations ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great info. Thanks heaps. All right. What about juicing organic vegetables? How does that help?
Okay, well, juicing, the organic veggies help all the time. I don't necessarily like juicing simply because juicing skew the nutritional profile of it. You see, here's the point, that I like when people juice as much of the veggies as they can eat veggies. So this would be the complete nutrition. When it comes to juice alone, it may or may not be healthy. Let me give you an example, carrots. Carrots are such great veggies, but they have incredibly high glycemic index. So what happens is that if you are going to take juice away from the rest of the carrot, then you are bumping your sugar high enough that you may actually develop this sense of crash afterwards when sugar drops down and insulin is still hovering up, trying to follow the sugar onset. So yes, there is one more element. When you are doing raw veggies, do remember that our gastrointestinal tract is not really meant to digest and absorb nutrients from raw veggies, much like, say, cow does or some animals do. But there is a trick, and those that are listening to us from France perhaps will attest to it. If you add a little bit of a fat, natural good fat, like olive oil, like butter, to raw vegetables, then you are going to get many more nutrients out of it than you would get without fat. So just keep it in mind.
Great. Some people are asking about DVDs, folks. If you, what we do now is we just don't make DVDs right ahead. If you think you're going to need some copies and all that.
Actually, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Actually, there is a DVD of this presentation as delivered at the local university here. And I have this DVD, so any one of you that would like to have a DVD, please contact Dr. David or send us email, and email address is info@enhcenter.com. info@enhcenter.com. Hopefully we are going to get it. We are a pretty busy clinic, but so the probably contact to Dr. David is better. You may have to give listeners your email address.
Well, the address is right up there. Just go to the website and you can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. That's
buildingstrengthwebinars.com.
So, and yes, DVD is available. I don't know what the price is, but I guess I'm not involved in all this part of it. But if you send email to us, then we are going to respond to it and we'll let you know.
That's even better. You get to not only listen to his accent, but you can actually watch him do his presentation. So I think that's even a better deal.
It's a zero entertainment value, as a matter of fact.
All right. A lot of people are having their gallbladders removed because they won't properly empty. Does estrogen dominance have anything to do with this problem? If not, what is causing this gallbladder problem that doctors are just taking out the gallbladders?
Okay, the gallbladder can be taken out because as an effect of estrogen dominance. And I don't know if I will be able to find the slide that pertained to it. I'm not quite sure, but what happens is that I addressed it that gallbladder problems may be secondary to estrogen dominance. So if very often what happens is that gallbladders, okay, well, we can get lost here in all this. But the point is that the simplest way normally is to, I mean, in medical model is to remove the organ that doesn't seem to work well. Well, there is a simple way to clean gallbladder, and the gallbladder is as good as new, and we should keep it because it's part of our metabolic processes and part of our digestive / evacuation processes that are so important. So let's keep gallbladder, and gallbladder can be saved.
Is sarcopenia muscle loss due to hormonal imbalance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It can be for several reasons, directly because of deficiency of some hormonal elements, and the second one is because of secondary effects such as depression, lack of desire to move, lack of desire to participate in activities and things of that sort. You don't use it, you lose it.
Great. This same person out with a question on the gallbladder says the last gallbladder she remembers was removed from a man in his mid-60s. Would this still be estrogen dominance?
Yes, men can be as estrogen dominant as women. Do remember that estrogen dominance is not necessarily because we have a lot of estrogen, but because we have elements, chemical elements, substances that may bind to estrogen receptors and actually make cells respond like there was an estrogen attached to it. Mm-hmm. So that's why whoever comes to me, I usually start from detoxification because it's such an important thing that, just let's clean the slate. And actually you can see it on people, particularly people of the, say, 50 plus, that if you see a very small pin-like red dots on the skin, this may be a sign of estrogen dominance. It's relatively easy to take care of it. It's simply that it is.
Great. Are all low-fat diets or products bad?
By my standards, yes.
Okay.
By my standards, yes. You need fats to have nutrients. And if you are not going to get nutrients, there is no another way. Remember, fat produces two benefits, or actually more than two, but two essential benefits. Produces nutrients, delivers nutrients that we need, particularly fat-soluble vitamins, and produces energy. Energy derived from fat is much smoother, much nicer, much better. There is a completely separate lecture about it, how fat is converted into energy. But the point is that you don't have to eat pounds of butter a day. It is simply that you have it. And then just, once again, low-fat diet, we are a low-fat diet country, and every time I'm coming from a longer stay overseas, I cannot get over the fact that people wear such big size clothing here in the United States.
All right. Dr. Kulisz, I have to warn you not to stop. You need to stop making fun of us Americans here.
Well, I am an American. I'm a U.S. citizen, folks, you like it or not.
All right. Now, what is Simplex F, please? Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means.
Yes, Simplex F is a nutrient. It's a nutritional formulation produced by a company by name Standard Process. And this is an extract of animal tissues that is compatible or biocompatible with the female hormonal makeup, and it's actually excellent. It's very regulating. It's great. As a matter of fact, we ship a lot of it to other countries. Usually 300-400 tablets really regulates a person very, very well over the probably 2-3 months.
Please explain protection versus nourishment. Protection from what?
Protection from toxins. This is probably the most important thing. And do remember that toxins don't, it's a very broad understanding of it. It doesn't have to be necessarily toxin as a chemical substance. It can be toxin as an environment that you live in, say family that is in disagreement, a spouse that is not cooperative, some other things that don't work for you, say financial problems that stress you a lot. All of this creates toxic environment.
Great. All right. Dr. Kulisz, how many more questions can you take?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Okay. Is DHEA supplementation okay and effective for all?
Well, yes, the short answer is yes, it may be beneficial for most of people. But you see, here's the thing. This is a matter of getting a fish versus, receiving a fish versus catching a fish. I would like my patients to develop such metabolic/physiological abilities through proper nutrition that they can produce whatever hormones they need, rather than have hormones provided to them in the synthetic or semi-synthetic form that shuts off the hormone-producing path, and then they are becoming dependent on something that is not quite bioavailable and eventually is not fulfilling the demand or the requirement.
So DHEA is like teaching you how to fish as opposed to...
DHEA is like getting a fish rather than teaching how to get a fish.
Okay.
I rather have people with hormonal fishing pole than giving them a fish, if I could put it that way.
Okay, and the hormonal fishing pole
would be the nutrition and whatever is needed for organism to stimulate it to produce their own hormones.
Got it. I took birth control for many years in my early 20s. I assume that those are synthetic hormones. How would that affect my health now at 60?
Well, I don't know. It depends how good of a structure you are, genetically how well you are set. It's very difficult to say. If you are lucky, probably it may not. If you see some problems with health, and always look at the primary elements, which is inflammatory condition. This is usually the primary element that indicates that there was some long-term toxicity in the organism. Then you may actually look into possibility of going through some form of cleanup, detoxification, or clinical purification, whatever the word is. Those of you that are interested in it, there is a book written by Dr. Gina Nick, N-I-C-K. Dr. Nick, the title of the book is Clinical Purification. Clinical Purification, Dr. Gina Nick. Excellent book, and I happen to be actually the primary opinion maker or giver. I opined on the book. Actually, my opinion is on the back side of the cover. But it's excellent book. It's very open. Very nicely written. Everybody can understand it, and it's almost like prescription for the doctors. If A, then B. It's very, very easy. It's quite a brick actually, but it's a good book.
So what was the title again?
The title of the book is Clinical Purification.
Clinical Purification, great.
And if you go to Amazon, they have it.
For men that have low testosterone levels, what besides stress can cause this? And is there anything they can do to increase their testosterone levels besides getting testosterone shots? What are your thoughts on getting testosterone shots?
Okay, I don't like testosterone shots. Let me give you a quick situation here. I have been contacted by a wife of a man that was in mid-40s that had low testosterone. His physician put him on testosterone shots. Over 3 months, amount of testosterone given to the men started from about 20 milligrams a day to 900 milligrams a day after about 3 months or 4 months. And eventually, doctor came to the conclusion that it's not helping because the testosterone effects level off very, very quickly, so he took him off, and men developed massive hot flashes and almost a heart attack. We were able to save him from it. Let me put it this way. Restoration of hormonal pathway towards testosterone in men is relatively simple. because we are missing this very substantial pathway going towards estrogens. So just once again, detoxification and some good nutrition supplements, some good nutrition. One of such elements of good nutrition are raw eggs. There are some cultures that do raw eggs daily. I do too, as a matter of fact.
Raw eggs?
Yeah, raw eggs. I'm 64, almost 65, and I feel just great. I mean, Dr. David can actually attest to it.
He looks great.
So you've seen my picture, kind of an older man, but still functioning. And there are some other things. So don't lose hope. It's relatively easy to take care of. And absolutely, if you only can, don't use testosterone shots.
Well, Dr. Kulisz, you look great, but I have to admit that you're losing your hair, though. And
Yeah, I did some time ago.
and someone's asked me a question about hair loss. So, Dr. Kulisz, in your experience, what is the basis of continuing hair loss despite the treatment of hypothyroid and dermatological progesterone?
I don't know.
Okay.
There is a Nobel Prize for those, and there are several reasons for which we can lose hair, and the chemotherapy is one of those, I suppose. But there is, for example, a theory that our cells produce large amounts of hydrogen peroxide that is not basically disabled within the cells by whatever elements in cells are to do it, and basically this may cause it. But listen, there is a Nobel Prize waiting for somebody that will develop something that hair will grow again.
That would be a big time seller. Okay, what is the simple way to clean out the gallbladder?
Well, there are protocols, naturopathic protocols of cleaning up gallbladder, and I can give you an example. This is not a prescription, but this is somewhere along the lines of let's clean up the gastrointestinal tract well first. Go for a 2-3 day fast. Do the colon wash 2-3 times. Have it really clean it very well, and introduce by mouth large amount of say olive oil with some lemon juice, perhaps Coca-Cola. I oppose Coca-Cola, but in this particular case, it's a good taste, kind of cuts the taste of olive oil. And you would be surprised that after about a week, you will deliver some probably hundreds, if not thousands, of small gallbladder stones.
Really?
That you will be surprised how much is coming out of it. We have a program to that effect, so if you would be interested, just give us a call or send us email.
Okay, we have 2 more questions, and we're going to wrap it up for the night. And are your regular lectures listed on websites? Are they available online or in MP3 or DVD format?
Okay, our regular lectures are listed on the website enhcenter.com, and they are delivered in person here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the Health Science Center. But what happens is that we are doing some lectures also over the net. Look up enhcenter.com. Better yet, register. There is a registration, the sign-up field, and we will let you know. We do webinars like this one. Just we do it through a different server. The building strength webinars is not a native server to European Natural Health Centers. We are just here a guest. I'm a guest.
And we're glad to have you. Really, I mean, this has been really a lot of great information. Let's wrap it up with this question. I guess it's a question that everybody's asking. When do you see a turn from the drug companies moving from, I'm not sure I understand this, but moving from what they're doing to adopting a more natural health approach? Is that possible?
Well, I don't. Actually, I don't see it. You see, the drug companies function of patents. And I'm telling you this as an ex-medical researcher and ex-owner of a medical company. I have 13 patents here in the United States to my name, and probably another 30, 40 around the world. So the patents in the medical industry are very, very important. Natural substances are not patentable. Natural substances are those that we have been using since day one, and they have been not only supporting but also prolonging our lives and keeping us in good form. That's why we proliferated. We are living longer and longer. And this is not true that all of a sudden we started living longer as of the last 60 or 80 days as synthetic medications came. I absolutely don't see that pharmaceutical companies are going to come to natural substances.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much, Dr. Kulisz. This has been great. Folks, if you have any more questions, you can email them to us, and we'll probably forward them to Dr. Kulisz. Thank you again, Dr. Kulisz. See you guys on Thursday for Rick Deitch's presentation, and have a good night, and God bless.
Well, have a good night. God bless you.